Hello, advertising students. We are up to chapter 15. We have up to 18 to go. So please keep checking your modules to see my newly uploaded PowerPoint slides. So these last few chapters will help tie together what you're doing as a project, and hopefully it all makes sense. This particular chapter is all about media planning, and all of you have decided what media to go with because of the survey information you received back. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and what's behind the scenes in making those choices. Okay, so how are media plans created? Okay, media planners, there's media planners within ad agencies, or they could be a boutique business and a resource that a ad agency may bring in, and could be a completely separate business from the ad agency. They connect brand messages with customers and stakeholders. They identify and activate the points of contact where the brand messages touch consumers and engage their interests. So it's really important to have a media planner that's very aware of who your audience is and where your audience goes, so they can intercept your audience in their behavior, their lifestyle. And there's so many different places to go. So you want to pick the most effective ones, and also have to consider your budget, depending on the company. If you clearly, your brand, FitCrunch, we don't have a huge budget here. So we have to be very precise in how we go and strategize the media that we purchase. So media engagement research. Some people believe that media decisions are the hub in the advertising wheel. I believe that. Media costs are the biggest element in a marketing communication budget. So if the right media is not chosen, no matter how great the message is, or how funny it is, or what celebrity you use, or what great influencer, nobody's going to see or hear it if it's not the right media for your audience. And you made that clear in the survey question you asked, when you asked them what media do they use to find out new information about products. You flat out asked them, and now you are kind of picking those two. So media engagement research, so there's a lot of places to get this information from your client. So your client could, FitCrunch could let you know what media their audience uses. Market research, which is what you did. Competitive advertising expenditures. So, what is the RX bar using, or what is Kind Bar using, or, the other competition? Where are their ads being placed? Media kits, media coverage area, consumer behavior reports. Okay, so you're doing all of that kind of research now because you're figuring out what it is about your audience that is unique, whether it be a Gen Zer up to a baby boomer. That's what we're talking about when we talk about the why behind the buy. So now we're going to break it down and look at all the different vehicles that are out there and decide, how can you trust if that vehicle is the best vehicle to use? Now, I know we did the survey, but breaking it down further than that, if they just said social media, you have to figure out which social media is the best for them. Or maybe if they did say magazines, you have to figure out which magazines are the best for the FitCrunch bar, or radio stations, or outdoor advertisement, whether it be a bus or a billboard or a bench. Okay, so newspaper readership information. How can you trust this vehicle? Over 60% of all U.S. adults read at least one print newspaper each week. Definitely in the silent generation and baby boomers for sure. And there is a company called the Alliance for Audited Media, and it's an independent auditing group that represents advertisers, agencies, and publishers. And what they do is they measure these markets to make sure that The newspapers are basically telling you the truth as far as their circulation goes and who the demographics of their market are. Okay, now magazines. We've talked about these during the semester. We know that this is a declining area, but they're kind of hanging in there because they're very niche as far as getting into people's hobbies, such as something outdoors or crocheting or food and wine or travel and leisure. But ESPN, the magazine, was top ranked in 2016 with an audience of over 100 million. So if you had a sports product and you wanted to hit that particular audience, this might be a way to go. Magazine readership. Magazine readership fell by almost 20% between 2012 and 2015. But magazines have shown resilience more than newspapers for sure. And the rates are based on, we talked about this before, guaranteed circulation, which means that people actually have subscriptions to this particular magazine. And so that's a guaranteed circulation. Now we're going to look at radio. The radio industry and independent research firms provide measures for advertisers, including the station's coverage. So if you're deciding, I'm going to use radio for my media platform, you need to find out what radio station hits your demographic the best and what their coverage is. In other words, what region are they in? Are they in South Florida, the whole state of Florida? Are they syndicated, so they're national? And a better measure is station or program ratings. So they do get ratings, which measure a percent of homes that actually tune into the station. There's a company called Nielsen, and they do a lot of kind of ranking of different stations. So the Nielsen Audio Company estimates the size of radio audiences for more than 270 markets in the U.S. So you would look at the Nielsen estimates to find out which radio stations are the best ones to choose to hit your demographic in the regions that you want. It works with people across the U.S. who have agreed to wear a portable people meter. Yes, it's called PPM. This is an electronic device used by Arbitron, and it's a media marketing research firm is Arbitron, and it's used to establish listening habits on behalf of radio stations across the U.S. So this is just an example of how Nielsen and Arbitron use this device to find out how people are really behaving and listening to a particular radio station. Okay, now TV. We might know a little bit more about this. Many advertisers consider television as their primary medium. I mean, we're looking at our favorite ads, and most of them are video-based. Data from sweeps period are used to set advertising rates and make program decisions. So what do I mean by sweeps periods? Sweeps do affect the rates for the 2 minutes of local ads, though. The month-long bonanza of stunt casting and special episodes determine how much local advertisers will be shelling out to air their ads for the following 3 months. This system gives networks a huge financial incentive to cram every rating-grabbing ploy they can into any sweeps period. So you might see that it is the final episode of something, and they build it up. They call it sweeps weeks, and they know a lot of people will be watching. So they base their advertising rates on those sweeps weeks. Think about right now. Advertisers are making, I should say, news stations are making quite a bit of money because there's so many companies that are advertising now really about Corona and how they want you to stay home and stay safe, and how they're helping to be of service at this time. But they're all buying advertising because they know that we're all glued to the television right now. So to find out a little bit more about Nielsen, this research company that dominates the TV measurement industry, take a look at this YouTube video. In marketing, Nielsen is a big deal. So knowing that going forward and leaving this class. Nielsen ratings are a very big deal. As I said, they're kind of a third-party research company that are very dependable when you're trying to figure out where to spend your ad dollars. So media engagement research continued. So exposure is television's equivalent to circulation. We talked about this before. It measures households that actually have a TV on and they're using it. An impression is one person's opportunity to be exposed to one time to an ad. Okay, we add all of these impressions up and they're called gross impressions. Okay, so let's move on and show you a little bit of ad prices for premium spaces in major media. So on the left-hand side, we start with online, from everything from Facebook down to outdoor, primetime, Snapchat, Hulu, Instagram. And then we go into $20 per 1,000 impressions. And then on the right side, it could tell you the kind of media you're using, which is like a sponsored photo. Let's go up to ESPN, $200,000 to $300,000 per day online. Box banner ad, ESPN homepage. So this kind of lists some of the pricing, so you get a sense of how much money these advertisers are making. Okay, so let's move on to media engagement research. More of this. Gross impression figures become very large and difficult to work with, which is why the TV industry uses what they call ratings. The share of audience refers to the percentage of viewers based on the number of sets turned on during a broadcast period. So think of like the Super Bowl. Independent rating firms such as Nielsen continue to measure national and local television audiences. Now, outdoor viewership's a little bit different. Advertiser is interested in the percentage of the population exposed to a billboard carrying the brand message. Showings are the estimates of the percentages of the population who had the opportunity to see the sign. So think about, many of you, at least in my other online class, my original online class, talked about outdoor advertising on 95 or on the turnpike or on a heavy traffic road, so you get more exposure to the message. So this is a big issue right now because many of us are staying home and we're off the roads. So you have companies that have bought, 3 months worth of this showings on a highway, and they're not getting any exposure, or they're getting very much a decreased exposure that they're not used to. So let's go to online audiences. A lot of you are choosing this route for your media choices due to information you receive from your surveys. So media planners are interested in the following things when deciding what they want to do with this type of engagement. So the number of visits to a website, how much time was spent on the site, new and repeat customers, and more sophisticated analytics from ad buying services. So this is something to think about when we're deciding on our media vehicle. Okay, so let's talk about your media plan. Now, I know you're only choosing 2 areas of media, but in the big picture, if you were really an ad agency that was pitching to FitCrunch, you would be giving them an entire integrated marketing communication plan. Okay, the media plan is a document that summarizes objectives and strategies that guide how media dollars will be spent. So it's kind of like a full calendar. When they'll be aired, if you will, like the dates, the times, and the costs. The goal is to find the most efficient and effective way to deliver the message to the target audience. Where are they? What are they doing? What are their behaviors? And when are they going to be paying the most attention to your ad? That's really hard to figure out. It's very much a puzzle. And of course, there's so many different directions to go. I mean, there's radio, direct mail, okay? There's newspaper, there's social media, there's TV, there's outdoor, there's guerrilla advertising. There's so many different things that you can partake in, but they're very strategic. Okay, media plans are designed to answer the following. First of all, and some of these are the steps that you're already taking. Who are you targeting? So I already gave you that. What are your objectives? Okay, your objectives should be something like increase awareness by 20% by engaging the customer in a sampling event, or in a coupon code redemption, or visits to our website, or likes on our Facebook page, etc. Where the media vehicles used, also where is the geography, what part of a region. A lot of times media doesn't start out national. They roll out something small in a particular region, see how that goes. If it goes well, they kind of unfold it across the country. When, the time frame, how big is, how big the media weight, how big do you want to go with your plan? And what can you afford? At what cost? So what's all this going to cost? Sometimes when you buy more, it can be for less because they bundle it for you. Some of these media buyers have relationships and they can bundle packages and get you more exposure for a better price. Okay, key steps in media plan continued. Contact points include, okay, so we know about traditional mass media, TV, radio, etc. Word of mouth. A lot of you have told me in our conversations that word of mouth marketing is an area that people are finding out information about a product. So that's kind of wide open as to how you can approach that tactic. Place-based media, in-store brand exposure, new interactive media. Traditional measured media are chosen based on such metrics as gross rating points and cost per thousand. Some of these other areas are different. There's sometimes the measurement there is hard to figure out. Okay, more steps in planning your media. You have to target your audience. You set your media objectives. What are you trying to do? You develop your strategy. How are you going to do it? And then you analyze the metrics of the media plan, okay? Or of your advertising campaign. So you're already doing these parts for your paper. We're going to get into each one a little bit more. So I'm hopefully clarifying some areas that you may be stuck on. So identifying the target audience is the key decision, okay? But I already gave you your target audience, so that kind of made it easier for you. The idea is to select a media vehicle that is compatible with creative execution, whose audiences best match those of the brand's target audience, and you know this information from your surveys, okay? So when you're deciding on your media vehicle, you have to see, just for instance, I'm going to use like a really exaggerated example. TikTok clearly would not be a good vehicle for baby boomers, okay? So whose audience best match those are the brand's target audience? So you already know. We have this kind of built in for you. So if you have Gen Zers, you know the direction that you're going. Maybe the top two areas were Snapchat and Instagram, okay? Or Snapchat and TikTok. Whatever it is, you're taking those two, but you know that's where your audience goes, especially now more than ever with a lot of us on our social media more than we usually are with our downtime. Okay, step one is still about your target audience. So consumer insight research also is used to identify and analyze the target audience's media use patterns. So for example, what they try to do is they try to kind of put people together that do like things. For example, the Toyota V8 Tundra truck taps into the DIY market using how stuff works as a media vehicle. So they found through their research, their consumer research about this audience, that the same people that are interested in a Tundra V8 truck, Toyota, are the same people that are kind of that DIY market that like to build their own stuff, make their own stuff. And so they decided to go on this how stuff works and use that as their media vehicle. It made sense for them to have banner ads, etc. So most customers still make purchase decisions using a combination of old and new media and conversations. So the one problem is that most consumers don't really know what influences them. So for instance, I could see something on a billboard when I'm driving down the Florida Turnpike and then open up a magazine and see the same ad and then maybe hear it on a radio commercial, okay? And then see it on my Facebook page. So I'm not sure which particular place connected me with or influenced me with the brand, but it's more of a culmination of all those things, because it's not just one place you can ever go. You have to spread yourself out for that consumer, mixing old and new media together. So more on your target audience. So the moment of truth, they call this, is the initial point of contact with the brand, perhaps on a store shelf. It could also be maybe at a sampling event. Just think of Costco, and they have the Fit Crunch bar. So maybe the first time I see it is on the shelf, but I also had a sample. The second moment of truth comes later when the product is used. Okay, I bring it home, I'm eating the product. And then Google calls the zero moment of truth when a consumer knows nothing about the brand. They're searching information online and they end up they share brand experiences with a friend. The internet provides a more in-depth communication about the product. So I think we all have come across some of this information, more baby boomer than anything, where they're really looking for more information online, and they share a lot of information amongst each other. Experiences with a friend, that's that word of mouth communication. Okay, so we're halfway through the slides here. So media objectives, communication and media objectives, what a company wants to accomplish in the delivery of the brand message and impact on the target audience. So communication objectives provide the guidance to the media planner. The two basic media objectives are frequency and reach. How often and how far. How often am I putting my advertisement out there? And what's my reach? How far is my reach? Okay. The reach, remember we said it could be, I'm only using 2 media vehicles, or I could be using 12 media vehicles. Okay. A reach could also mean what regions are you in? The whole United States, maybe just the Southwest, maybe just the Northeast. So it's a combination of things. So there's all these pieces. There's like a formula that goes together here. It's not just, oh, we decided to use this or we decided to use that. It's a whole formula that goes into place that leads up to the success of your media objectives. Okay, so let's get to the frequency objective. Frequency refers to the repetition of the message. And I think I've said this before. It takes about 3 to 10 exposures to have an effect on the audience. 3 to 10 times. Okay, and again, that comes in different forms. I said I heard it on the radio. I saw it on a bus. I then saw it on my Facebook page. And then I saw it on a TV commercial. Average frequency is kind of misleading because people vary in the numbers of times they can be exposed to a message. So new products or complex messages definitely require more frequency because there might be some more learning and understanding about the product. Okay, the reach part. The reach is a percent of different people exposed to the message one or more times within a specified period of time. Okay, how far out am I? How many different people are being exposed to the message? Okay, targeted reach is a percentage of vehicles the audience match up to that target audience. Okay, so let me say that again. Targeted reach is the percentage of the vehicle's audience that matches to the brand's target audience. For example, if the evening news targets a broad audience and I need to target 25 to 49-year-old males, is this a good choice for me? Probably not. I probably want something more focused, and the Nielsen ratings would come out and tell me that ESPN or another sports channel is going to target that 25 to 49-year-old male that I'm looking for. So I'm not going to waste my reach, okay, using the evening news. That makes no sense. So wasted reach is the number of people in the vehicle's audience who are neither customers nor prospects. And you're never going to get 100%. But for instance, my husband's a musician. He likes Rolling Stone magazine. Okay, so what does a media kit look like for Rolling Stone magazine? It would tell you what their frequency is, what their reach is, who's their demographic, meaning male, female, what are their ages. They'll break it down for you so you can really focus and decide if, Rolling Stone magazine's the best place for me to put my ad. Okay, or is there a better choice depending on who I'm trying to reach? Communication and media objectives. So writing media objectives. So on pages 453 and 454 are great examples of some media objectives. I'm going to open up my book right now. Okay, so on page 453 and 454 of your text, it gives you some helpful hints on writing what your objectives are going to be, your media objectives, which you need to come up with for your paper. Okay, these objectives need to be measurable with time frames, which is where that evaluation comes in for your last part of your paper. And you're not going to reach 100% of your audience, but at times frequency is more important than reach. So let's talk a little bit more about some media objectives. Reach 60% of the target audience with a frequency of 4 within each a 4-week period in which the advertising runs. So they're getting quite specific. Here's another objective. Reach a maximum percentage of the target audience a minimum of 5 times within the first 6 months of advertising. Okay, number 3, reach 30% of the target audience where they have an opportunity to interact with the brand and users of the brand. Number 4, reach category thought leaders and influencers in a way that will motivate them to initiate measurable word of mouth and positive brand messages. Okay, the first of these objectives is the most common. It recognizes that you can seldom reach that 100%. It acknowledges that a certain level of frequency will be necessary for the brand message to be seen, heard, and read. The second objective would be for a product where the message is more complex through research. It's been decided that prospects need to be exposed to a message at least 5 times to be effective. In this case, frequency is more important than reach. Put another way, it's more important to reach a small portion of the audience 5 or more times and have them respond than it is to reach to this large group and with no response. And the third and fourth objectives I read, they deal directly with impact. To achieve these objectives, media buyers will have to find media vehicles and contact points such as events and sponsorships where interaction with the brand and its users is possible, as opposed to using more passive media and traditional media. Notice that the objective number 4 that I read is not measurable as stated. Okay, so that's some of them will be measurable and some of them will not be. But remember, you're going to you need to have objectives for what you're doing and what the purpose is and what the impact is going to be. Okay. Media strategies involve decision factors and tools that help identify the best way to deliver the brand message. Regardless of your budget, the goal is to reach the right people at the right time with the right message. So a lot of you are intercepting the behavior of your target audience, and you do have facts, secondary research that you've done that has proven that the vehicle you have decided to use will intercept them in their behavior or lifestyle because of your survey questions or because of the research you have found, articles, etc., that have told you that baby boomers, for instance, visit gyms, and let's just say 75% have a gym membership. So maybe that is a great way to intercept them, or whatever the case may be. So media strategies are based on analyzing and comparing ways to accomplish the media objectives, selecting the approach estimated to be the most effective. You also have to think about your media mix, okay? We call a marketing mix, same thing with a media mix. You want to use a variety of targeted media vehicles, and they reach the current and potential customer, and you have to justify this selection. Now, obviously, again, I'm only having you pick 2, but in the real world, you would be picking several, and you'd have to justify why you chose them for your audience. Using a media mix distributes the message more widely to different media, had different audience profiles. So you need to ask yourself, what media will deliver with what effects? Can I reinforce and extend those effects with the mix of media? Think about it. Okay, so this is what I think will be quite helpful to you as you make your decisions on the media that you're using. So for the next several slides, this is a guide to media evaluation and selection. This can definitely help you as a resource in justifying why you are going with the type of media you are. So for instance, we'll start at the top here. So print advertising, it's paid media. Okay, the strengths of it is that it's good news for news announcements and comparison shopping, has positive consumer attitudes, good for reaching educated and affluent consumers, good for local market coverage, flexible in geography and scheduling. Okay, then you go on the limitation side. They don't call it weaknesses. Newspapers have a short lifespan, there's clutter, limited reach for certain groups, and poor production values. So obviously there's no color, and if that's something you're trying to promote, something like a beautiful car or something more vibrant, that's not the way to go. Okay, let's go down to place-based ads as another example. Outdoor, they're good for local markets. They're directional, brand images, they're reminders, they have high impact, larger than life kind of pictures, are less expensive, long life, place-based message for nearby businesses. Okay, so that kind of gives you a sense, but then on the limitations, traffic does move quickly, and they can't handle complex messages, remember, because we want to see something quick, and the designs must be simple, maybe easy to miss depending on the location, and so that's just an example. So use these next few pages on paid media, then owned media, which would be more things like your corporate branded media, your website, your brochures, anything like that. And then you have owned and interactive, um, personal contact, interactive. Again, what are the strengths and what are the limitations as you go forward? Okay, mobile marketing, earned and interactive. Okay, word of mouth. Let's talk about word of mouth a little bit. That's under earned and interactive because a lot of you said this might be a direction you're going to go. So it's a personal conversation, word of mouth using online media such as email and texting on cell phones. Buzz marketing happens when people start talking and spreading the word. It becomes viral. Posts that are liked can circulate rapidly. Business to consumer generates influence by engaging thought and fashion leaders to become brand advocates. Okay, so the limitations to word of mouth is it's hard to measure the impact, hard to monitor comments for brand or category mentions, organization can only initiate it, can't control content or impact, and hard to control and hard to evaluate the return on your investment. Okay, so look through all of these evaluations and selections and see what you're going to use and what the strengths of it are and realize what the limitations are. So I have told every one of you almost that whatever type of media you use, you need to engage the consumer in some way in and with the product. So you have to drive the traffic back to the website. So there needs to be something clickable, a video, a coupon code, something that makes website, of course, that lets me look at the ad and then have a place to go afterwards and engage in a contest or read a blog. So you can see here that Frontier Airlines demonstrates the use of a creative print ad to drive traffic to their website. So check out the web, haha. But they want you to go back to their website, go on frontierAirlines.com. That's just an example for print. If you're doing something on social media, what is it that you're going to do? You have to show me how you're going to engage that customer with the brand. Okay. Geographical strategies. Okay. So, in this case, our product here is not really a product that is either more popular in one place or another per se. It's not a seasonal product, so this isn't necessarily pertain to us, but there's geographical strategies that companies use, and they know that it's called a heavy up schedule, and that certain regions the product is available or has more sales are projected to be higher because of the nature of the weather. And the example here is cold products in the Northeast versus sun care products in the South. Okay, obviously more copper tone sunscreen is used here in South Florida or other sunshine type states than say in Middle America. There's also a CDI, and this is another interesting index. It's called Category Development Index, and it determines the rate of consumption for a product category in the country. You're able to see how much consumption of, say, Fit Crunch bars happen in our country. So if there's, say the Northeast is very popular with this kind of bar, it's pretty interesting to see, hey, if that's the case, then we're going to do more advertising there. And maybe if it's not in, say, Middle America or the Southwest, maybe we need to do different type of advertising there, more of an introduction of the product, versus the Northeast where people already know about it, and we'll do something more about reminder type campaign. So it's called the Category Development Index, and it determines the rate of consumption for a product category. I'm going to show you an example of that in a minute. Okay, geographical strategies. A brand development index estimates the strength of the brand in geographical areas as well. Okay, Columbia brand products, which are really coats, are popular in colder climates versus Hurley brand is probably more popular down here in Florida. Okay, this is another concept you need to know about. It's called SOLO-MO. Okay, the convergence of social, local, and mobile marketing that can deliver information you want and where you are. So marketers can identify who you are, in what location, and do it quickly right on your phone to connect with you. That's called SOLO-MO. Okay, and that brand development index is also another index that you need to know about. If you're talking about a very geographical brand, you're going to promote products differently if you know that there's more strength in certain areas than others. So I always find this interesting, although it's 2017. This is a map for Walmart, and they kind of talk about their best sellers in all different parts of their country. They can actually see that in certain parts of our country what sells more than others. And if that's the case, they're going to stock that product accordingly, maybe have different sales and specials around that. So oddly enough, don't know why, but Pennsylvania's are hot on plastic hangers. Don't know why. Beverages are more popular in 6 states, including, of course, Florida. Makes sense. Louisiana. Trying to read all these other states in here. California. Anywhere where it's hot, okay? Where you're drinking more. School supplies are among the most popular in 3 states. Okay? They have them broken down from erasers, crayons, to glue sticks. Maryland, Illinois, and Alabama. Who knows why? But Walmart knows why. They analyze their information. That way they're able to stock their shelves accordingly and promote products. Brands can promote their products. But I thought you'd find this to be pretty interesting, how companies can do this, figure this information out. Okay, now we're going to get into the scheduling of your media. So it's designed to identify the best times for consumers to come in contact with the brand message. When we think about yourself, what's the best time? A lot of times it's when we're on vacation or doing something fun, like going to a football game at a stadium or going to see a concert. And this is called an aperture, and it refers to when consumers are most receptive to a brand's messages. It's maybe that time when we're kind of more relaxed and we engage with the brand, whether it be clothing that we're wearing, or sampling of a beverage, or sampling of a Fit Crunch bar, for instance. So where are we most receptive? So when we were talking about gyms before, and this is obviously a protein bar, if that's where we're most receptive, if I go to a gym and they're promoting a product, I'm already getting kind of like that, feeling good about the product because it's healthy. I know that a gym wouldn't allow in a product that wasn't good for you. And I'm probably more open to the concept of trying something, taking a coupon, or stopping and listening to a representative tell me about the product than I would be if I was maybe, somewhere that had nothing to do with health and fitness. Okay. I'd just say, okay, and keep walking. Maybe at the mall. That's a good example. Okay, timing strategies, when to advertise. Okay, so we know there's seasonal times for certain products. It makes sense. There's holidays, there's days of the week, and there's the time of day. So there's usually a lead time between, thinking about our purchase and then actually purchasing it. So I don't think that the Fit Crunch bar is a seasonal product or a holiday product. It could be more of a time of day product. Am I eating it as a meal replacement for lunch? Is it a snack? Is it something I have so many days out of the week? So the duration, is the period that we're putting the message out there too short, too long, or just right? If it's too long, the ads may suffer from like wear out, and so you want it to be the right amount of time. A lot of companies do like a 6-week or 8-week promotion. if they're trying to do a consumer promotion and advertising around that. So we talked about this on my original online class, but how often do you advertise? And understanding your products. So there's a thing called continuous strategy, and this spreads the brand evenly over the whole campaign period. Okay, maybe it's all year, okay, and you're setting up your yearly plan, and you want to go all year round. It doesn't matter, you're called an evergreen product. So there's no seasonality or holiday relation to this product. Then there's a pulsing strategy. It's used to intensify before a buying aperture and reduce to lower levels until it reopens. So if we're talking about pulsing, it might be regarding, say, bathing suits. And it intensifies at certain times of year where it's warmer, maybe around the time of vacations, spring break, people that go on cruises, people that go on river tours that might use that that type of product. Okay, so decisions are plotted on a media flow chart, and then so you can see the ups and downs. So the next area is called flighting strategy, and it features alternative periods of intense advertising activity, and then there's no advertising. So the example there to me is something more seasonal. It could be something for Christmas. It could be something for a cold medicine, something for allergies, for instance. And that would be flighting. And I want you to take a look at this YouTube video because it really kind of gives you more of a visual of what I'm talking about. And since, you know, at least for my face-to-face class, if you're not actually seeing me and we're not having interactions, it's really important to tap into these YouTube videos to give yourself a little more of an explanation and understanding of how it looks, this continuity looks. How often? Is it a continuous ad? Is it a pulsing strategy? Or is it a flighting strategy? These are a little bit of a visual for you when we are talking about pulsing. Okay, it doesn't go away, it just kind of goes up a little or lower, up a little bit or lower, versus flighting, which is high and nothing, high and nothing, high and nothing. Okay, and then the other continuous one would be just straight up through the year. It is a evergreen product, and I really do see that more for FitCrunch. Okay, we're getting to the end of the chapter here. Ad effectiveness. Okay, how do we know if the ad was effective? And we did talk a little bit about this on our conference calls. You need to talk about what made your ad effective. And these are different ways that you can kind of track these metrics. So there's a thing called cost per click, the cost of digital advertising based on the number of clicks an ad receives. There's a cost per action, and this assesses a digital ad based on how many users click it, and then there's a certain action involved. Like, I clicked on the code, and then I actually bought the product. Cost per view is paying for an ad based on the number of times it is viewed on a website. So how do media buying and negotiation work? Okay. So the media buying is complicated because there's so many parts to it. But the American Marketing Association of Advertising Agencies lists at least 21 elements of a media buy for traditional media. There's all these elements that are involved, but the most important one is matching that media vehicle to the strategic needs of the message and the brand. Okay, that's where that customer relationship comes in, or that client relationship comes in, where they filled out that that brief for us, and our creative brief, and they told us what they wanted, and now it's a matter of what media vehicles match what they're trying to achieve. So the key media buyer activities. Okay, 1, provide inside information to media planners. 2, you have to select the media vehicles and negotiate the costs. bargain for preferred positions. So preferred positions could be time of day versus the back cover of a magazine versus, you know, in the middle of a show, a TV show. Demand extra support offers. Monitor performance. You know, are you getting exposure that you want? Are you reaching your audience? Are people acting on it? Are sales increasing? Is the coupon code being used? There's a post-campaign evaluation. You know, how did it go? And what do we want to do differently next time? And then, of course, there's billing and payment. So there's all these different activities that a media buyer needs to partake in. Pretty interesting job. Okay, so an example of a magazine can influence an ad's design here is, so here's V8. The physical characteristics of a magazine can affect its ability to deliver the desired message. For this V8 ad, it's in a Reader's Digest, and we know that it's a very visual ad. We have our bright colors, our dark fonts, and very little bit of information here. But it's also on a smaller page because the size of a Reader's Digest, but it might not be the best choice for complex ads because it's a smaller page versus, say, an 8.5 by 11. So multi-channel buying and selling. Okay. Newspaper buying is simplified through companies that place advertising in papers nationwide. They may do a cross-media buy where they buy, you know, all across the country and or a region. Or these multi-channel deals are a result of what they call media convergence. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the next chapter. So online media buying, so companies including Google and Yahoo are making inroads to media buying and selling, as you know. Google's selling ads primarily to small advertisers and publishers with Google AdWords and Display Network. And Google's is betting that its expertise in search advertising will give it an advantage over traditional ad media services, which I agree. Their expertise does give them an advantage. And then there's all kinds of new forms of media research. So metrics for media, hit and clicks, don't measure impact. Search advertising is also complicating things because if it's successful, it steals viewers away from the original site. And viral media is also hard, like word of mouth is hard to measure. Most research services can't tell you much about the effectiveness of platform media programs. Things are getting better. Companies are getting better at evaluating and giving metrics so that when you go to make your media buy, you're not just kind of doing it on a wing and a prayer. You know, you have to have, what's the return on my investment if I go and use a specific media platform? We need to know this information, and companies provide that for us. Nielsen ratings provide that for us. Different measurements help us make decisions as to whether or not a media platform is going to meet our audience in the middle of their lives, basically. So that's it for chapter 15. We'll be moving on to chapter 16, and then it goes up to 18. So keep tuning in, and hopefully you can use this information that we talked about today to help you with your formation of your paper.